am Niagara with Blue Sky Training, and in this video we're going to cover 5 tips to help you succeed at your next field exam for a BPI test. Now at Blue Sky Training, we obviously want you to be as prepared as possible before entering the test. So whether you just finished or have yet to take a Blue Sky course, make sure that you take advantage of the content and especially the review quizzes within that course. They're designed to help you memorize and prepare for everything that the field test would throw your way. So it's recommended you generally get around 85 to 95% on that final exam before you set your proctored field exam. With that said, jumping in, let's go ahead and look at tip number 1, which is you want to print off all of the field guides and principles before you enter the test. Now, on BPI's website, underneath the test you'll be taking, there is always a field guide and some other information on the site. The field guide is going to have all of the questions generally and the process that you need to take, as well as gated items. Gated items are especially important because if you fail the gated items, you fail the entire exam. So you want to be sure to review the field guide before you enter the exam, print it off, and bring it with you into the exam because you can have that while you're taking the exam. As well as there are some tests where you can bring some printed material to the exam. For example, on the BAT, you can take the ANSI BPI 1200 standards, which do contain the carbon monoxide action levels, which is something that you will need to be able to recite during the field exam. So make sure you're familiar with what principles are allowed during the test and you print those off beforehand to take with you. If you're unsure, you can contact your proctor beforehand and ask as well. Number 2 is you want to bring any ID and certification to the test that you would need in order to take that test. For every BPI test that's proctored, you will need your ID, so whether that's a driver's license or a passport, make sure you bring that and you will need to take a picture with that before the exam starts. For some tests, there are prerequisites required. So again, for the BAT, this would be the Building Science Principles Certificate. If you've taken a Blue Sky Training course, which hopefully you have, we will ask for this before you even set your proctored exam date, but it's a good idea to be able to access it during the test as well, so that when you go to the exam, you can clarify that you do have the prerequisites required for that test. Number 3 is you want to check gear beforehand. Now, some of you are professionals and you're doing this for recertification, so you're taking the field test and you have your gear already that you like to use, so make sure that you charge that up beforehand and it's ready to go during the exam and you've checked with a proctor to make sure it is available to be used during that exam. If not, which a lot of you may not be familiar with a lot of the gear, you want to check with your proctor and see which gear will be used. Because if you've never seen a carbon monoxide badge or the likes of the gear that you'll be using on some tests like a duct blaster for the IDL, these gear pieces can be confusing. So again, check with your proctor beforehand, clarify which gear will be used, and if you need to, look for specific information on that gear, and even see if you can handle the gear before taking the test. That way you can become a little bit familiar with it before you jump into the test itself. Number 4, and this one is incredibly important for succeeding during your test, is verbalize everything. The proctor needs to know that you actually do understand why you're doing the specific actions that you're taking during the exam. So make sure you're not only telling the proctor what you're doing and going over that as you do those steps, but you also need to be saying why you're doing that. This will help the proctor know that you do understand the information for the test. And if you can verbalize everything, that'll clear up any confusion on actions that you take on the test. So again, you should be thinking out loud and do everything. So even though you set all combustible appliances to pilot, did you say out loud that we're going to set all combustible appliances to pilot before running that blower door? Make sure that you did and you said it out loud, and it's never too late to say something out loud if you've skipped past it very quickly and done it out of force of habit, for example, and then you can go back and say, this is why I'm doing this. Number 5, know your time. Before you enter the exam, you should know how much time you have to complete that specific field exam. You should also keep track of time during the exam, and you can ask your proctor during the exam how much time you have left. This is to help you know whether or not you may have time to run through things again, and generally BPI field tests give you plenty of time to do everything that you need to do. So it'll help you slow down, keep pace, and be confident presenting the information. As well as if you finish the exam early, you can go back and do something again. There is no shame in redoing something that you think you may have messed up the first time, because your head can get bogged down with all the information that you need to be aware of and doing at the same time, and so it's never a shame to go back, redo something that you were a little bit shaky on, verbalize it as you're doing it that second time, and then say, all right, I'm completed with the exam now, and then you can move on. So know your time and know how much time you have left in order to know what the test itself is looking like as you're taking it, and pass it with confidence. Because at Blue Sky Training, we want you to reach the peak of your profession, and not only that, be confident in your career as you take the test and move out.